You the Batman?
It's good to see you playing well with others again.
Just like a bat. I dig it.
Maybe temporary.
Harley Quinn.
They became the king and queen of Gotham City.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So we got to talk about Batman working with other people again. So I'm going to talk all about Nightwing, the Robins. Here we go. I know everybody's wondering where Superman is. That's why they put Lois Lane in the trailer to remind you that Superman will appear. We can talk about him in another video, but that Injustice 2 video game giveaway that I'm doing is still going on. So all you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. Working with other people. Such a throwaway line, but such a big, loaded comment. So, I mean, when we're meeting Jim Gordon for the first time, the new version of Jim Gordon, I still totally see him as J. Jonah Jameson. He has not aged a day since he did those Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. But here's where we get to the timeline, because they just announced a Nightwing movie, meaning that Dick Grayson is still alive. So you're like, okay, who's the dead Robin that we saw in Batman v Superman? Are they really gonna do Under the Red Hood? Will we see a version of Jason Todd in the universe? So the thing about big DC world-building movies like this, they're building a big film universe, is that everything is possible until it isn't possible. So until Zack Snyder, the producers, come out and say, no, this Robin is dead, we're never gonna do him, it's sort of an unspoken rule that there's infinite potential for anything that seems pretty simple to do. Like logically, it makes sense that this dead Robin here was Jason Todd, so they will do that comic book arc eventually. But when you think about the timeline, so Batman, like I said, is in his 40s. You have to imagine that the Christian Bale version of the character was someone in his late 20s. I mean, that franchise spanned several years, so he was much older by the time he stopped being Batman. Michael Keaton's version was someone I always saw as being in his 30s, and they never really did the Robins during the Michael Keaton era. I don't treat the Joel Schumacher films as canon. They're just kind of like off by themselves. So the real clues about what happened to that Robin and what the timeline is when we got to Suicide Squad and we saw that card for Harley Quinn where it says that one of the crimes that she had been arrested for was the death of one of the Robins, her involvement with the Joker in killing that version of the Robins. So it makes sense that the Ben Affleck version of the character in his late 20s took on the Dick Grayson Robin. He eventually grew up, became Nightwing in his 30s. He took on the Jason Todd version of the character. They had their DCEU version of a Death in the Family because Harley Quinn didn't exist in the comics when Death in the Family was happening. She was created later for the animated series, then written into a comic book, then written into the larger canon of the actual mainstream comics. So Harley's path to the DCEU was just a little bit different than some of the other core Batman characters. But true to fashion, when Batman v Superman was getting ready to come out and we saw the uniform, they were very opaque about what was going on. It was just that Batman had suffered a death in the family. In all the years of crime fighting, all the darkness that he had encountered had just piled on his soul, and he had hung up the cape and cowl until this Superman event happened, and he's like, okay, that is it. This is where the line is drawn. I'm putting the cape and cowl back on. So that's where we arrive at Justice League. When he goes to assemble this team, you get to this Gordon quote, hey, it's good to see you working with other people again. So, this whole time that he's hung up the cape and cowl, you have to assume that the Dick Grayson Nightwing was active in Bloodhaven, which is where his movie is going to take place. They haven't said anything about what the plot is going to be, but I do love the idea that they could resurface a Jason Todd somewhere in there so they could do a Batman team-up movie, like a Justice League-style Batman family movie way down the road. I know a lot of you are asking about the backdoor Nightwing version of Batman in case Ben Affleck ever leaves, like if Warner Brothers is building themselves an option in case Ben Affleck is like, okay, you know, I did my Batman solo movie, it's 2019, I don't want to do any more. I don't think that's going to happen because I think that Justice League trailer, there's always going to be people that don't like DC movies no matter what, but I feel like that trailer did a good job of healing a lot of the damage that Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman did in the fandom. So now everybody's a little more optimistic than they used to be. So I think that will trickle down to Ben Affleck, and he will stick around for another Justice League film because Zack Snyder is not going to be doing it. They already confirmed that another director is going to do the next Man of Steel movie. Zack Snyder did the first Man of Steel movie. That was sort of the beginning of the DCEU. So he's slowly fading into the background. Zack Snyder's going to be done, and new people will come in. There were a couple years when Warner Brothers was not doing so well financially. Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad had to do really well, and they did make a lot of money for Warner Brothers, so they kind of skated by. But the big thing that they need to do is a solid franchise. Even if you make a halfway good Batman movie, people will go see it. But what's the greatest, safest bet that you could possibly make if Batman is your biggest character is you do a big Batman family team up with other characters Avengers style after setting them up, like you do a Nightwing movie, like you would do a solo Avengers film. Then eventually you collect these Batman characters together, you put some of the people from Suicide Squad like Harley Quinn in it, and I wouldn't say you do Batter for the Cow, but you could do a big, grand Avengers-style Justice League-level story like Hush, which involves a ton of Batman characters in a way that a more intimate Batman movie wouldn't. I think largely based on the success of Deadpool and Logan, people are more excited about smaller comic book films, so I wouldn't expect Batman films to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't do it after doing their Nightwing solo film. Now that all just depends on how that turns out. If it's a good movie, people love it, they'll do more Nightwing solo movies. But let me know in the comments, would you actually want to see them do a Batman family team-up movie and just do like a really big Batman story from the comics? They always change the comic book story a little bit, but what if they were to work their way up to Batman Under the Red Hood, a big live-action treatment of that? They might have to change the title a little bit, but it's the same idea. You introduce the Red Hood character, the former version of Robin, to the universe, and he becomes something of an antagonist, an anti-hero who works with Batman sometimes, but also hates the crap out of him. So he's just a really interesting character. He's like the manifestation of Batman's guilt. How dare I think it was safe to put a kid out on the streets fighting crime? That was sort of the lasting impact of his death. It was like, hey, what would happen if you took a kid out fighting crime every night? He would probably end up dead. The reason Damian Wayne works so well is one, because it's fun that Batman has a biological child who also shares DNA with his most hated enemy and has the training of a full member of the League of Assassins. So it's like, okay, Damian Wayne is a little kid, but he could probably handle himself even without superpowers. But I don't think there are any plans for like a big Batman family team-up movie as of right now. They're just mostly focusing on getting Justice League out, doing a really good job with that, fixing the Man of Steel franchise because he's kind of an underserved character right now. Henry Cavill just had to spend 8 months pretending like he's not doing any other movies, even though we all know that he's in Justice League. So there are a couple reckonings that they have to address in the Batman movies, and I think they'll save them for the Batman movies. One is the Joker killing the Robin with Harley Quinn. She obviously regrets it. He probably does not. So they will have their come to Jesus moment with the Bat God where he judges them. And then when later, big surprise, we find out that Jason Todd has been resurrected and now he really hates Batman. There's just so much great Batman family drama that they could do on screen that would make for amazing movies. So let me know in the comments, where do you want them to take this? And unfortunately, a lot of it just depends on how the next couple of movies do and how long Ben Affleck wants to stay. I do think he'll stay through that second Justice League film, which I believe is 2020 right now is the tentative release date for that. But after that, it's anyone's game, and the next Batman movie that he's doing won't come out till about 2019. So I think if they were to do a follow-up Under the Red Hood team-up movie with the Batman family, we wouldn't see it till like 2021 or even beyond that. So anything could happen, but I think that it'll be fine this year. I think that Wonder Woman will do great. I think Justice League will do fine. So I think that'll give Ben Affleck and Warner Brothers some of the emotional and financial bump that they need to keep pursuing this character. So my next video is going to be all about Spider-Man Homecoming. They've been teasing him with the Avengers building and all these posters. There is definitely going to be a Spider-Man trailer sometime in the next week. Tom Holland posted this message here.
Bonjour France, I'm Tom Holland, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Thank you so much for liking our Facebook page, and we hope you like all the new content we'll be posting over the next few days. Merci beaucoup.
That'll post in the morning, then I'll do some new Game of Thrones, then there's a new Walking Dead episode. We're almost at the finale of that. So I'll say congratulations to Elijah Harper. You're the new Injustice giveaway winner. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There was a new round in this video. I'll announce the winner the next time I post a DC video. While you wait for that, click here to rewatch that Justice League trailer a billion more times, and you can click here for brand new Guardians of the Galaxy in Sylvester Stallone's secret character. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys in the next video.